When I was growing up, the bags were often treated as sort of like the consolation prize. If you were the odd man out, then you would be on the bag while everybody else partnered up. And so I had in my mind that bags were like second rate, that it's always best to train with a partner, and if you don't have a partner, then well, at least you have a bag that you can hit. And then when I started boxing, I would show up for practice and there'd be a room full of people and everybody was on a bag. And then there'd be maybe one or two guys in the ring with a coach working on the mitts. But that was it. And I used to think, well, we've got so many people here, why don't we all just like partner up and hit mitts together or do glove drills together? Why is everybody on a bag if that's like second rate? And as I continued my training in boxing, I started to realize that the bags are really one of the most important tools in your arsenal for getting better. Every single bag is sort of like steroids for a very specific skill. So like the heavy bag obviously is going to develop your power. When I used to teach a lot of group classes, now I mostly just teach privately, but when I was teaching a lot of group classes, I could always tell the people who were coming to the bag classes, partly because I saw them, but also I could just see a difference in power, because when you're hitting pads, it doesn't take a lot of good, powerful technique to still knock the pads around. But when it comes to the heavy bag, I have to sit down on this. If I punch this and I don't sit down on my punch, I'm going to feel it, boom, shoot back into me. Or I don't turn my hip over, I'm not gonna move the bag at all. Or take the double M bag. This bag follows the dodgeball principle of, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Well, if you can hit this bag, bam, bam, ha, 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 ha. If you can hit this bag, there's nobody's head movement that's going to be faster than what you can hit. So it's going to develop that precision and that timing better than any partner can do. Or take the slip bag, which allows me to work my head movement constantly on the bag. I have no partner that's afraid of hitting me. This thing's not afraid to hit me. It never gets tired. As its speed changes, so does its timing. I can also move in and out. And like I said, it's not afraid of hitting me in the head. Now let's look at partner work training on the pads. Now don't get me wrong, I do think there's nothing that quite beats having a very skilled coach who knows how to hold pads properly and knows how to work you through a mitt round that's very closely mimicking the tactics and the strategies that you're going to use in sparring. But most mitt work is done in class with students that have no idea how to hold the pads, and even worse, most of them think they know how to hold the pads and they don't. And so they're holding pads out here. You might as well be the Burger King hamburglar attacking. Or people hold the cross hook like this, so that my cross goes way out here, but my hook is right here. Or you get training partners that do this. Because we're nice guys, we don't want to hit each other. We go like this, jab, cross, weave, weave. And so he's not actually learning how to properly move his head out of the way. There's a lot of bad habits that develop from poor pad holding, and most people don't know how to hold pads well. My instructor used to emphasize that there are always 3 instructors in every class. There is the head instructor, the one leading the class, and then there is your training partner who should be giving you pointers and letting you know, oh, you're dropping your hands. But then third, the most important instructor in the room is yourself. And the way that I teach myself is through the feedback I get when I'm hitting the pads. So when I hit the pad, I can tell if it pops or it feels a little bit too close or a little bit too far. I can feel what's going on. However, when somebody holds poorly, then I get bad signals. One really good example of this is the hook punch. When you throw a hook, your body is what delivers the hook to the target, not the arm. It's not a sideways jab, but a lot of people hold the hook out here. And so the only way to hit the pad, if you don't know how to use your footwork to get over, is to then have to throw a sideways jab. So by doing it the right way, you completely miss the pad. And doing it the wrong way, you get the reinforcement of hitting the pad, telling you that doing it the wrong way is the best way to do it. So you are training bad habits, just like the jab cross. I don't want to be jabbing towards my center line or crossing over my foot, because if I'm doing that, that means my opponent has gotten a better angle on me and I don't have my back foot to drive off of. And yet when somebody holds the pads like this, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm punching across. Instead, the pad holder should be able to put the pads right in the same spot every time so that you throw that punch like you're aiming for a 2-inch target. It also gives me twice as much training. If you and I are going to the gym 3 times a week training for an hour, and you're dividing your time between holding pads and hitting them, then you're only getting a total of an hour and a half of actual training time, while the other hour and a half is spent holding the pads. But when you're on a bag, it is all you. You're getting 3 hours in a week instead of an hour and a half. And in a year of training, you'll have essentially accomplished 2 years of training in comparison to everybody else in class. Now, one thing I will give pads is I can move around so the person can work closing and then opening angles, but a lot of that can be mimed on the bag pretty easily as well. So there we go. I hope I made a strong case for why the heavy bag is superior to mitts. Now you might be wondering, why are you making this point? I know there's a lot of people who don't get the amount of training in that they could because they don't always have a partner, but they do have a bag. But if you're like me and you thought that the bag was less than the quality of training with a partner, you might not be as motivated to do your workouts on the bags. But yet, as an instructor who does train a lot with other people, but I spend a lot of my time training by myself, I have to encourage you to make hitting the bags, especially if you can get access to a variety of bags, but hitting at least the heavy bag and the double end bag are my 2 favorites for a home gym. Get those 2 bags. And in fact, get the bag that I showed you over there, the slip bag. You can freaking hang a water bottle from a string and practice, so you don't really need much there either. Get those 3 bags and start practicing on them, and you'll get so much better, so much quicker. So I really want you to embrace the tools that you have and see them as some of the most important things you can be doing to improve your skill over the coming year. Also, if you would like to join me in my 21-day Fit Warrior Challenge, this is a challenge that I've used at my gym with my guys to provide that boost of motivation. I always kind of think of it like if you play that game Sorry, where you go from square to square to square, but then every once in a while you land on a square that allows you to just like shoot down towards the bottom. I think of these challenges as like landing on that square. Like every day you're training, you're putting a little bit of work in, but when we do these challenges, it's like we get that extra little vroom, motivational slide across the board. So if that's something you'd like to do, I'm going to run it free. I've been putting a lot of work into building up this YouTube channel, and I want to make it a resource for people, especially those who don't have a gym. And so starting February 9th, I'm going to be going live 3 times a week on my YouTube channel. I'll also be supplying you with a Fit Warrior Challenge packet. It'll have a tracking sheet where we'll track your workouts, we'll track your nutrition, I'll give you a nutrition plan, we'll have other things as well. If this is something you want to get involved in, it's free. It's starting February 9th and running for 21 days. That's 3 weeks. So to join me, go down into the link in the description, click on that link, fill in the form. I'll be messaging you information about it as we get closer to the date. Awesome, guys. Bye-bye-bye.